You happen to catch us on a gorgeous fall day on the Homestead. We are mid-November and it feels like summer, almost late fall. It feels like amazing. We are close to 70 degrees. We have perfect sunny skies, not a single cloud, and we're making the most of it. We're hoping to get some stuff done in our garden today. We have the area in front of our greenhouse that we'd like to clear some of that stuff out and get some of our...
Welcome to Ridgehaven Homestead. From the mountains of Upper East Tennessee, we share snippets of our off-grid life, cabin build, and garden blessings. Pour yourself a cup of tea, sit back, and take a peek into our off-grid home and family.
The greenhouse is an ongoing project, and our garden has been laid to rest for the year, but not forever, because we are trying to put some garlic in today. We have some things to clear out, and right now we're going to get the tiller going, and I'm going to go down there and get those tomato cages out. We're hoping to get a lot done in the garden. In the greenhouse, you can see our poor tomato here did not survive. I think it would have been just fine, except for our dear friend broke into the greenhouse. He actually pulled away the log that was holding the door shut, and he came in because he smelled a red tomato. So we were getting red tomatoes. You can see that one up until last week when we got that really cold snap. And if he had kept the doors shut like we had it all buttoned up tight, I think they would have kept on growing, but it couldn't survive the high of like 29 or 30 last week. But now that we have this beautiful sunny day, the plants are happy. We have some carrots, some arugula here. Not a lot of any of them, but they do love these sunny days. Over here we have some kale. You can see these little bitty things that I'm watering. So there's little bitty kales, and then we have some cold hardy lettuce as well, which will be really nice. And we'd like to expand and do more in here, but right now we're focusing on the outside garden while we have beautiful sunshine. We have a little bit in here over by the wood pile. She's exploring, and then we have Big Mama. She's also exploring. The cats love the heat. They could stay in here forever, but it's too hot for me. So I do my thing, and I'm out of here except for when it's really cold. Then it feels quite good. Oh, we even have Buddy, who has come in here to check out the action in here. Where is Buddy hiding? I don't need to keep watering that tomato anymore because it is dead. If our dear friend had not come in here to eat the rest of the red tomatoes, we would have picked the green tomatoes and done something with them, like green tomato mincemeat or whatever, but they did freeze, and so they're mushy, not any good.
This year we got our garlic from Territorial Seed Company, and we have 3 different varieties to plant. At the end of the summer, I pulled out the old plants like the corn stalks and the tomatoes and everything, and after we dug up the potatoes, now we are ready to work up the soil again for the winter things that we want to plant. Of course, we've already mentioned the garlic, but we also have some kale and some winter greens that have come up voluntarily. We're trying to preserve them, and most of the garden is going to just be lying fallow for the winter rest. We have all of our old tomato cages from the summer that I have moved to one area and then moved to another so that we can rototill in those spaces. Once we got started, we did find quite a few things to keep us busy. I was pulling old corn stalks and old weeds out, moving those tomato cages, and dealing with the raised beds that had not been dealt with yet. And Greg just kept rototilling. We just are getting it done. As you can see, we have plenty of cat helpers who always show up when we are outside. We also kept dealing with this belt coming off on the rototiller a time or two, which delayed our progress, but nothing too big.
Shazam!
Greg worked up this area in front of our raised beds where I had some tomatoes and squash growing last year, and it's fluffing up quite nicely. That's where we're going to put the garlic. My rosemary that I got in a small 4-inch pot, probably at Walmart, is doing very well. I am going to have to cover it up this time because sometimes it doesn't make it through the winter very well. Now we have a new project that I am working on, which is dismantling this growing wall that has served us for several years in one of our raised beds. I have liked using it for growing cucumbers and morning glories and green beans that like to climb on it. But since we are probably going to be taking these raised beds out and reconfiguring them, then we decided that this wall needs to go, or it's like cattle panel. So I have detached the zip ties that are hooking it up to these stakes, and we're just going to set it off to the side until we get these raised beds done. Probably sometime during the winter we will tackle that project. We'd like to have it done by spring, and we're trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do it to use this space properly. But I really want to have something vertical because I really like to grow things up. It ended up taking me a little while because the fence was so covered with morning glories and green beans. I took the time to save some of the morning glories that I had planted and liked, and now I finally have it cleared off. Italian late. Once we have a good clean slate in our garden, it's time to plant the garlic. We didn't get a whole ton of any of the varieties. We got 3 varieties. One of them is the Italian late. One of them is music, and I just cannot remember the other kind. But here are Chuck and Big Mama. They always want to be in part of the process whenever we're doing anything in the garden. They're so very helpful. I'm here for the moral support and to put the stakes in. We use the impresso tags that work pretty well. It's like an aluminum that you can write on and the sun doesn't bleach it out. So Greg makes the rows and plants the garlic. I put the stakes in and mark them. It worked out pretty well for us. It has been and continues to be an interesting process of learning to transition to just the 2 of us from just the 5 of us. It's a long journey and we don't do it perfectly, but we're learning to adjust. Here is a fast forward to what the garlic will look like, although this was some garlic that we forgot or couldn't find when it was time to harvest it, so it went ahead and sprouted again. Even though we have had this garden bed for over 5, 6, 7 years, we are still pulling out big rocks every time we turn the soil over. We are just a rocky ridge homestead. That's probably what we should have called it. So many rocks. It takes a lot of work to get things ready to plant. Putting the garlic in the soil, making the rows and marking them, that's the easy part, and it's like the icing on the cake. But doing all the preparation work is what takes the longest time. But it feels really good to see those garlic cloves getting put into the soil and knowing that they are being tucked in for the winter and will hopefully produce a nice harvest come next June. Once we got the garlic in, Greg and I both kind of gravitated towards our favorite little hobby outdoors, and that is saving seeds. I can't resist saving flower seeds, and so I have zinnias and cosmos. These were the most beautiful white and pink cosmos. And so I wanted to make sure that I could save some and preserve them for next year. But I also have some of the zinnias, probably way more than I'll ever be able to use. Makes me feel good to know that I don't have to buy them next time. Meanwhile, Greg likes to save herb seeds and vegetable seeds, and so he has taken the time, we both did, to set aside some of the holy basil and the regular basil plants when they were going to seed. And so now he is getting the seeds out of them. It got kind of too hot to save the leaves of these, but we've saved some other ones in the house, and so we are getting quite a few basil and holy basil seeds for our harvest next year, although they readily self-seed and we hardly ever run out of basil now that we have planted it several years in a row. It just seems to come back in vigorous amounts. While I basically harvest the flower heads and get the seeds out of them and just shove them in a jar, I have to come back and get them off the heads and separate them and clean them up. I will do that when I have a spare day. Greg likes to go ahead and clean them up right away, which is probably the better choice. And so he has screens that he has purchased for this task, and it seems to do a very good job with the larger screen and then the progressively smaller screens that finally get even the smallest seeds cleaned up properly. Every seed that we save is one less that we have to purchase, and so it's just a few steps toward being more sustainable and preserving the things for our future, and that just makes us feel really good. I thank you for coming along and joining us in our garden endeavors today. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and until next time, stay safe, be well, and may God bless you.